kind of crazy. Buying a house is, for many of us, the biggest financial decision we're ever gonna make. Pretty much everybody I know makes this decision with an astounding lack of information. I remember back when I bought my first house, I walked through it for about 30 minutes before putting down the biggest chunk of cash I had ever paid for anything in my life. And I'll tell you, 30 minutes is not really a lot of time, and it's not really an adequate amount of time to really understand what you're getting into. This is the place you're gonna spend most of your life as long as you live there. And what if there's something about it that you just don't see in that short window of time that's gonna be like a huge issue for your everyday life? Why do people throw so much money at something without doing more homework? Because that's what everybody does, and that's what we're all expected to do when we're putting an offer on the house. And I'm here to tell you, it's crazy, and there are some very easy things you can go ahead and research before you make this huge decision that can be very informative in helping you understand whether or not this is the right decision for you. The first thing you should do before making this decision is to get an insurance quote on the property. And don't just get this quote to look at the cost, but really start digging into the details of what it says. A lot of times these quotes will tell you about crime rates in the local neighborhood, flood risk for the property that you're looking at, types of claims that other people in the neighborhood filed. Can just be really enlightening to understand, okay, what am I really getting with the package if I buy this property? Another thing you'll want to check out, particularly if you're buying a property that's located anywhere near a school, is to drive by the property on a school day between the hours of, say, 8 a.m. and 9 p.m. and then 2 p.m. and 3 p.m. when kids are going to school and when people are coming home from school. You probably remember back when you were in school, right? When buses would start clogging up the roads and parents would drive in and fill the parking lots, and it basically just becomes a massive traffic jam with all this noise and activity every single weekday during those hours. And it can get kind of annoying, especially if you live like right across the street or if you need to use those roads during those times. So if there's something you need to be aware of, definitely check this out, because you'll probably want to be aware of what it's going to be like every single school day if you happen to live near that school. Another pro tip that I've learned from experience is that you never want to buy a property because of the beauty factors. Things like granite countertops or stainless steel appliances or paint colors or hardware or any of that stuff. And I'll tell you why. It's because those things are frankly not that hard or expensive to do yourself. I don't want to tell you they're cheap, but at the same time, things like windows and roofs and foundations and other issues can cost way more to replace. But these are the things that a lot of people don't have their attention drawn to by the realtor when they're walking through the property. So check out the things that really matter. Be sure to get an inspection and make sure that if there's any like super expensive things, either you're not paying for it, or if you are, you've budgeted that into your overall equation when you're buying the property. If you've got vision for your property, you can make it look however you want to, but the things that are really expensive a lot of times are not the first things that meet the eye. Another practical thing you'll want to be aware of is that in the end, you can fix anything about your house, but the one thing you cannot fix is your neighbors. See what you can do to understand who's going to live next door to you, across the street from you, down the street from you. Even if you have to knock on some doors and greet some people, just get a feel for what kinds of people you're going to have in your neighborhood. This kind of thing I think can be even more important if the property right next door to you happens to be a rental property or a short-term rental, like a property that goes on VRBO or Airbnb. If you live next to a property like that, it doesn't have to be a deal killer for you, but you should know you're basically going to have a revolving door of people coming and going from that property all the time. And as somebody who used to live next to a rental property, I can tell you it's kind of annoying to never really know who your neighbors are, and even when you do get to know them, they're gone the next month. If you're someone who cares at all about the people that live next door to you, you'll probably want to just make an assessment and be aware of the properties next door and down the street from you, because in my experience, the property and the neighbors are never quite the same when they don't actually live there as a homeowner. When somebody's just passing through, they don't tend to care as much, and in terms of how the property looks, it's really up to the property owner and how much they care about keeping it up and making it look good. So again, that's something you'll definitely want to be aware of. before you make this huge investment into a house. Something else that's a really good idea to do before you buy a house is to spend some time just hanging around the area on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday from around 6 to 8 p.m. And why do I say this? Because in some neighborhoods, you may get an idea for if there's any like troubling activity that happens in those parts of town. Say if there's like gang violence or drug deals or anything like that. This kind of thing is not an issue in a lot of neighborhoods, but in some it is. And you're gonna see that kind of stuff if you happen to be in the area looking for it. So if you're at all concerned about that kind of thing, just spend some time hanging out in the area and getting a pulse as to what's going on in the neighborhood. And as one last bonus tip that I would highly recommend is that anytime you're walking through a house, doing a site visit before making an offer to buy a house, always check your cell phone signal. I know this kind of seems random, but I'll tell you, there are some properties out there that do not have good reception, and especially say if you're in the basement of a house and if you can't get a signal, that's going to be kind of annoying, and you're going to want to know about that before you live here and you're stuck with that situation. So if you happen to be in an area where the signal is weak, or if you've got a phone that's weak or just bad service, again, something you're going to want to know before you're actually stuck living in that property. So anytime you're doing a walkthrough, check your phone. Make sure you're happy with the signal you've got. Look, I'll tell you, my goal here is not to cause any undue anxiety or paranoia about the house you're looking at, but as somebody who has dealt with a lot of these things firsthand, there's things I really wish somebody would have told me back when I was buying my first and second house. So if you're in that position, if you're looking to buy a house and you're not sure what sort of hidden things you ought to be looking for, these are some of my recommendations because I had to learn the hard way, and you don't have to do that. If you want more information on the stuff I'm talking about here, check out the blog post over at REtipster.com. I'm gonna have a link to it beneath this video if you're watching this on YouTube. And if you're watching this on the blog, then congratulations, you're already here. I hope this video was helpful. Appreciate you watching, and I'll talk to you next time.